You can use a sensory story to support someone who struggles with particular sensations. I don't want to say sensory stories is a way for getting somebody to deal with a sensation they don't like, because that's not true, and we shouldn't be looking to do that. If somebody dislikes a sensory stimuli, that's fair enough. You know, you think about when you invite people around to dinner, you go, is there anything you don't like to eat? And your friend says, oh, I don't like mushrooms. You don't go, right then, mushrooms, you're having it. You've got to learn to deal with it. Because we accept with the sense of taste that some people like some things and some people don't like some things. And when you build into that consideration that some people are processing sensory information differently, that different parts of the brain can be more reactive to stimuli than others, that all the sort of complexities of neurodivergence and intellectual impairment and all the other things that can go on for somebody, just saying, oh, you react badly to this, therefore you have to learn how to deal with it, isn't fair. But if there's a particular sensation that is difficult for somebody to cope with and is causing barriers in their life, so I'm thinking of a friend of mine who, they're from a big family. One of the things their family loves to do is go out for all-you-can-eat buffets. And my friend enjoys that. They enjoy being with their family. They enjoy food. It's all fine. The thing that my friend doesn't like is the clinking noise of cutlery or keys on a keychain. You know, that jangly sort of noise. And at the places that they go to, there's those grey plastic troughs that you keep the cutlery in, and people scoop up a handful of cutlery to bring it round to the tables. And that sound really distresses my friend. Now, because that sound distresses my friend, it makes it hard for them to go out with their family for dinner. It can cause situations when they're out with their families for dinner where they become distressed and then they have to leave and all of that. And obviously the family do everything they can to not go to places that have got those grey trays, to speak to the servers in places and say, please, can you not make that noise? Those adaptations we should completely be doing. But if my friend could get the hang of that noise, or at least not be as distressed by that noise, that would give them access to something. And so that is a reason to consider that particular sensory experience one to be targeted. And these are just little short videos, so I won't go into huge amounts of detail here, but just for a flag up, for some people that distress reaction in relation to a sensory experience is to do with how it's being processed and won't change. You know, if the sound is too loud for you, it will always be too loud for you. There's no amount of practicing listening to stuff turned up to volume 11 is going to make it any quieter for you or I or for them. And so for some people, that experience won't change. You can repeatedly expose them to the sound of cutlery and it won't change. They will find it as distressing every time. And so if we're doing something like this, we need to be really, really careful how we're doing, because it's not fair to just constantly expose somebody to a distressing experience. For other people, it can be to do with differences in how the brain is processing the information and how the brain is tuning into information. And it's a bit like, you know, when you see DJs operating those slider decks and they're sliding up one part of the sound and moving down another, and they're tuning in. It's like that. Part of the mechanism of the brain tunes into particular sensations, tunes out other sensations, and that can be a learned skill, just like somebody can learn to do the decks. And it can be that with repeated exposure, somebody can learn how to modulate their sensory responses such that they can cope with it better. Wouldn't it be lovely if that was everybody? It's not everybody. But if we're going to target a particular sensation, what we would do is we'd identify the sensation and a good reason for doing it. The reason for doing it is not that the person is distressed by that sensation. If they are distressed by a sensation, then the nice thing to do is just not offer them that sensation. But if it's causing an access problem, or if you've got a good reason for why you might want to tackle it, you create a sensory story that's about something they love, and you fill it with lots of things that are really motivating to them, that they're really going to enjoy, and you have that experience as part of the story. And then you can do sort of one of two things. Perhaps you start off with that experience very small, and increase it in some way. That can be a sound that starts off very quiet, gets loud. It could be a touch experience that starts off with me touching something and then I get closer to you and then I invite you to touch it. So you could do a graded access to that experience and hope that over time, and you watch and you evaluate, and you don't carry on if you think you're just upsetting somebody. If it feels like they can build up to being able to cope with that experience, great. In a different version of this, you're recognizing this is an experience they're going to struggle with. How am I going to help them? What am I going to offer them to help them cope with that experience? And the sensory story is your vehicle for figuring out those strategies. Is it that when you hear the horrible noise of the cutlery, if I give you something to really squeeze on, you've got something that's stressing you at a sensory level, but you've also got something that's calming you at a sensory level. And so they're kind of balancing each other out. And it's not perfect. You don't want people to have to be coping with their situation. But if that bit of coping gets you access to going out to dinner with your family, then you're balancing, you're weighing up, is this worth it? Is this of value to this person? You are not doing this just because they appear to be different. You're doing it to modulate, to gain access, to support. And you would use the sensory story as a vehicle for exploring, can you wear headphones when that happens? Is there something, if we sing this song, does it get you through it? And you're figuring it out and doing that detective work. And then potentially you can use a sensory story to support somebody with sensations they find difficult in order that they get a greater access to the world.